Yo, welcome everybody.
Good evening everyone, welcome back
To TCR Trinity
Competitive Racing. Well, TCR TeeJay is the Season 13 Golden Class Champion for Trinity Competitive Racing.
Oh, let's go, dude! Yes!
Thibault on the podium! He's on it by a 10!
Gentlemen,
Side by side through one.
And silent, oh, and Seafreeze gets a little half spin.
let's fucking go!
Wheel bumping.
DRS enabled, let's do it.
And Captain Blade battling it out for position. Captain Blade.
Ickle, what the
Then McChicken goes around and he also makes
Rewind down the front straight, oh my god!
I gotta check the heart rate.
Why do we do this? Because of nights like this.
Yo, welcome everybody to TCR Trinity Competitive Racing, and welcome to episode 8 of the Racing Debrief, TCR's podcast where we combine the world of e-racing, sim racing, and TCR with real-life motorsports and Formula One, a true racing enthusiast's listen. I am your host, Seafreeze, and alongside me, guest co-host of Thibault, silver class driver in the Alfa Romeo, and D'Angelo, producer behind the scenes, and also joining as our guest here tonight, a silver class driver in the Alfa Romeo seat of Camden-luca. So we are recording on September the 3rd of 2022, and let's get into it. Yeah, we have a lot of things to talk about.
Lot.
We do.
So we had our... Well, first I gotta kind of remember a little bit of it all, but I don't know. I feel like we had... We didn't have rain in anything.
No.
Race.
Dude,
No.
we didn't. Dude, silver, we didn't need rain.
We had a slick, dry surface in silver.
Did it?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
everyone was spinning on their own.
And Golden didn't have any. Platinum definitely didn't have any. Platinum, it was kind of weird because it was like Silver was kind of all crazy. I think, who was it? It was Rafa Hulk said that it was kind of like a roller coaster, and then D'Angelo, you added it was an emotional roller coaster.
Yes.
And then Platinum was like the calmest ocean wave out there. It was
Old
really
people bingo night.
yeah. Like it was just
Yeah, why was that race so boring?
That race was like
I
a
was
Red Bull
looking
down a
forward to that
straight.
race.
I called it too, and I told you, Thibault, I said that. Well, I'll say it. I said I said that all the stupid people aren't on the grid tonight, so it's gonna be a clean, no safety car race in Platinum, and I decided to underfuel my car.
Yeah, are you all bark or no bite because you underfueled your car after calling a clean race and then crawled across the line with a big gap.
Yeah, although it didn't really hurt me in the end, but I mean it kind of didn't really like give me an opportunity to fight for the win because I had to back off for like the last 5 laps. But
Yeah, I think at one point, correct me if I'm wrong, you were fighting to get within DRS range, and you finished 4.6 seconds off of TeeJay in P2.
yeah, well, I did get in his DRS at the end. I got in within TJ's DRS, and I thought I could maybe use that as like kind of saving some fuel there towards the end of the 5 laps. And honestly, I was hoping that TeeJay or Taz also underfueled their car, because I feel like that's kind of a common thing with some Platinum guys, is to underfuel because we kind of know there's going to be a lot of safety cars. But so I was hoping they were in the same boat, and I didn't even underfuel it by that much. Like I thought it was kind of a safe, okay. And like we even had a VSC. We did have
How
one
much?
VSC.
You say it's not that much. How much are you willing
I
to
went.
publicly
Yeah,
disclose that?
I'll publicly disclose that. I was negative 0.75. Because in my practice run that I did for Australia, I did a full 50% race. And I'm happy I stayed in it, but it didn't. Because you know what happened? I was in that 50%. I did a 50% practice race. And I was like, I had like 10 more laps on the hard tire. And then you come in here, Chibar, and you're like, oh, I want to do a practice session, but like we're waiting for freeze. Do you remember that a few days ago?
No.
No, you were like, oh yeah, like oh,
Yes, I do.
we gotta, yeah, you know you do. You were like, oh, we gotta wait for freeze. Like you were waiting like 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, I did wait.
And you
Yep.
did, and I'm like, I'm not even doing any laps in your lobby, so like you guys waited 20 minutes, 30 minutes for nothing. But I'm happy I did wait because that told me the fuel, because I ran out of fuel because I went one lap under, and I got back to negative 0.5. So I thought, okay, about a half a lap or so. So I thought maybe I'll just do negative 0.75, give me a little bit to work with. In case there's a VSC or something, but even that was not enough. I was way under, or yeah, still way under, so I had to save. But Platinum was very. I guess we'll start. I mean, start there a little bit.
That must have caught you off guard because last year you finished clean with enough fuel, right?
No.
Oh, you
it
didn't.
was worse, and that actually caught me off guard. Last Australia race, I underfueled. I don't know by how much, and it was kind of different cars too. But I did and layout. I mean, it should have been better back then because you have a chicane where you can brake and kind of regain a little bit of the fuel. But I think I ran out at the end of sector 1 on the last lap, and I had 2 full sectors of like we're out, and that also didn't cost me any positions because we also had 0 safety cars in season 13 platinum class Australia race. Nothing. And I had like a 30-second gap last season. I think it was Cam was right behind me. And I think I finished 6th, and it didn't cost me anything. And there was no one really in front of me. So, and then I went to this race and I finished, well, I did get to the end, but I had to like back off. Otherwise, I didn't want to like risk it. But I still had a big 10-second or so gap. I think Meb or someone was right behind 10 seconds or so. So I had a decent gap. But this is the first. So Australia's been interesting for me because there was last season, and then also I think it was season 10, which were like the last. I think it was at least the last 2 races I've done at Australia. I don't know if it was the last time TCR went there, but I remember in season 10 and Platinum, you had the incident right off the start of the race, Seecwit splitting. Do you remember that? Or I don't know if you guys were there, but you definitely have seen it.
The
You know what
safety
I'm
car
talking
video?
about. Yeah. Have you seen it?
I've seen the
D'Angelo,
video.
Cam?
No, I have not seen it.
No.
That video predates me, and I have seen it because its reputation precedes itself. But for some reason, I thought it was in Austria, but that was, I guess it sounds close to Australia. If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, pretty much Seecwit split the middle between myself and there was one other driver, and I did a full 360, and I didn't get any damage whatsoever. Professional retired, and he's not here again for this episode, unfortunately, but he retired, and like, man, I think he didn't even get like 1 or 2 grid slots in front of me. He just instantly hit the wall because of Seecwit splitting the middle, and then Seecwit is stuck on the pit. Not stuck, but he stopped at the pit exit, and the safety car comes out, and he just runs Seecwit over, and he gets disqualified because he hit the safety car. So that was back in season 10, and then the last time I raced last season, going into turn 1 on the opening lap, I also got hit by Whale Flow, who was not prepared for that race whatsoever. And he comes in, hits me, and I spin another 360. Again, 0 damage, and I'm able to continue. But there was no safety car drama. So I was hoping, I'm like, if I can just get off the start of the grid without getting a 360 before turn 1, I'll be happy. So maybe next season I'll have to think and pray for can I at least get to the end of the race without having to fuel save? It's just been a weird track for me as far as weird things going on, but
yeah. So you didn't finish. You hardly finished the race this season. You struggled to finish the race last season. You know who else didn't finish in Australia last season?
Who didn't?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you did, if that's where you're going.
No, that's
No?
we'll get to that. I was talking about TeeJay. He had that. He was in amidst his championship race and just binned it, going in the fast chicane, maybe under safety car or on a restart.
It was restart lap.
Restart lap,
but early.
Yeah, like lap 5 or 6, I think.
Yeah, so he messed up. However, in season 14, he came into Australia in the Platinum class, now season 13 gold champion, with 0 points, finishes P2 only behind his teammate, and is up in 4th in the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, no, TeeJay, he had a really good race. And I told him before I was practicing with him, I'm like, man, you could win it this week. I said, you're pretty, like, his quality time's really good. I didn't see the race pace as far as when I was practicing with him, because there was a few spins here and there, but I'm like, all right, well, let's see. Maybe the setup was more for quali, but no, I mean, when we went to the race, pretty much 0 mistakes. The only thing that caught him out was the pit sequence. Once he pitted, he was good. He was going to work on that undercut, but he got stuck in traffic, and that's when he needed to really get past, that mid traffic there, because that allowed Taz to just close up and get through the traffic a lot better, which pretty much won him the race, I think. I mean, I think Taz would have been able to close in on TeeJay because they were quite close already before, but it is harder to pass. But yeah, that was really the race sequence right there, because once TeeJay lost that track position, it was hard. It was gonna be hard to take it back from Taz, but it was also his first podium in Platinum, and I don't know, it was a really strong race. Like, if you would have told me that TeeJay would have had a podium in Platinum for round 2, or for P2, I would have been like, no way. Like,
how many safety cars
on merit? Like, on merit. Like, he went out there, he got the pole.
Yeah.
First pole.
Pole sitter.
Second, first podium. And, like, he had the pace and everything. So, he's going to be a good second teammate there for Taz. Taz just doing a good job there.
Yeah, Taz beat Tom. Race started P2, front row with his teammate. Got his, I think, second win this season. Yeah, second. He won in Brazil. Leading the championship. Just good. He's a good racer, isn't he?
Yeah, he, he's always going to be up there, fighting for it and, on the podium. But, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who's gonna challenge. I mean, hopefully me. I'm hoping. I'm getting more and more comfortable each week with, especially now that I'm on the PC and not on my sluggish PlayStation 4 that's gonna blow up. But I feel pretty good. So hopefully I can go up there and contend. But I know Professional, he had some really bad luck at Australia. I was running behind him. I think it was around lap 10 or so, and I knew exactly what happened. His wheel disconnected or something hardware wise. He just went straight at turn 3, and I'm like, okay, thank you, come again. It was like very, I'll take it. And honestly, it was the most boring race. I don't think I overtook Meb at the start, and that was it. Like, that was it. I didn't pass anybody else. I passed Professional, and he was off the track. Every time I came up to lap traffic, they just pitted. I don't think I overtook anybody else besides lap 1. And honestly, those remind me of the races that I remember. I don't know, Camden, you might remember this, or D'Angelo too. I remember back in the 2017 game, I think it was, the safety car didn't work. Like, we had to have it. A lot of leagues ran safety car off. So it was just, 5 red lights went out, and it was, race, and you just couldn't, you can't spin, you just have to go. And it reminded me a lot of those older league races where it was kind of just long green flag run from start to finish, and whoever, it was kind of more of a traditional races. I feel like nowadays you're expecting a safety car at lap 23, and you're having a 2-lap shootout every single time. Do you guys remember that? Were you league racing around then?
Yeah, so I do remember that, and it does seem like, especially nowadays, that it's almost a guarantee that we do have a safety car. And I just miss not having safety cars, because like you said, I think there is a skill to being able to go from start to finish without making any mistakes, without going off track, because the safety car really, resets things. And we saw in Australia for silver, there was a couple of times where, the race seemed to be pretty set to where, okay, these are the guys that will be finishing at the front. And the safety car came out with 5 laps to go and really screwed things up. So, yeah, I think it says how much things have evolved in just the past few years.
So you prefer the old style of league racing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Me too. I think it could also mean we had more wins back then.
Yeah.
Because it was more of a straightforward race.
Bias.
This is just my second season league racing, and I want to ask you, more experienced drivers, what do you attribute that increase in safety cars to? Do you think it's the roster? Do you think there's more careless drivers? Do you think the game is more susceptible to causing mistakes or calling out the safety car? I know we're running reduced because it was really trigger happy on that, or a mix of the two. What do you think?
Mix.
Yeah, a mix, but I do think there is a little bit of real life F1 influence, because if you take a look at the last couple of years, we've seen a lot more rivalries such as Max and Lewis, and a lot of the time, they are definitely over aggressive, and I think that has a little bit of an influence.
Yeah, I agree. I think Lewis and Silverstone could be a bad influence for your drivers. What do you think, Freeze?
I think that's a good point. I feel like now, like more in real F1, that you've seen a lot more. Like, I haven't watched F1 for a while. I mean, back to episode 1, I talked about that 2015 to 2016 was really my first season fully watching F1, and I didn't see a red flag during the race until, like, I think, I don't know when it was kind of now more the norm. I feel like we get red flags almost a lot more often, and then you expect another race start, which is also, I don't think, the norm. I think that was kind of more of today's rules. I feel like back in the old day, after a red flag, they would go back behind the safety car and then do single file restart. But now it's like another race start. And I think, you have, I mean, I think it's all because you need it for safety and everything. And I don't, I don't mind the red flags and everything, but I feel like also with that, it comes with It's just more frequent that you see all of that. And as far as the game, like, I feel like it's a tricky situation in real F1 because it should be strictly about the situation and not the oh, we're trying to put a show on, which I feel like F1 needs to stick to the rule book. I think there's a lot of sports out there like NASCAR that is more of a gimmick, and they like to do whatever they want to do in their rule book, kind of, it seems, and it's more for the show. You even see the what's that other Tony Stewart series, the SRX series during the summer. They have fun, I think they're called fun cautions, and they'll throw a caution when the field gets spread out. And that's more of a that is supposed to be, that's not like a competitive, I guess.
They have those in
style.
NASCAR too. They call them stages.
Yeah, but stages have been around for a long time with NASCAR. It's not just as of late. They actually used to do stages way back when, but I actually don't mind them. But that's kind of,
I didn't know that. Must like how long
Besides the
ago,
point.
roughly?
Back when the fucking mob ran the shit.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it was a long time ago, but I mean, I actually don't mind the stages, but I mean, that's another different style of play. It used to be long green flags, now it's cut into stages. It's a different style of an approach, and I think sticking to the rule book is good. Now, as far as the game aspect of it, I think that the safety cars work now, and a lot of people will say this argument of, you know, we usually run the safety car on standard in the game, and we at last game 2021, maybe even 2020, we used to get a lot of safety cars, and I think that is more based off of the safety car will come out more of a time that it should come out. Like when you have a car wrecked on the racing line, street circuit right on the racing line, and we have ghosting off too in TCR that we run. You need a safety car for that. Like, you can't, like, people are crashing and wrecking, and a safety car is coming out. And I think the game, how it's triggered, it works. And I think even if you had that in real life, if a car wrecked, in most cases, how we get a safety car, you're also going to get that in the game. Back in 2017, 16. I mean, you could have half the grid wreck out and no safety car at all. Actually, you know what? We were doing practice right before this. We were doing a Baku practice before this, and I was practicing with GTR-LION, who just made his return in the Golden Race. And I don't know when the last time he raced. It's been a few seasons, I think. I said, do you remember that time we had, and I might ping it in the video, or I'll share it this week for the drivers to see. I think it was season 6 Platinum race. We come around at Baku, the final 2 corners, and one car in front spins. And we still had ghosting off. We run usually ghosting off, but it could have been ghosting on, but the ghosting didn't actually affect. It was a few games ago, so I'm not too sure. But the lead car, or like maybe 4th or so, wrecked or spun. He was like horizontal to the track. And I tell you, he collected half the field. 6 cars, DNF.
Jesus.
Debris
I remember
everywhere.
that. I remember
Debris.
that. I remember that.
Body parts flying, debris. Everybody's out, and GT comes in straight through the middle. He's like, "Excuse me, right through the left, right through the right," and he gets through unscathed.
That's a commentator's dream to
Literally
call a finish like that.
And no safety car. No safety car. 6 people wrecked in the whole straight. You couldn't drive.
It's because that one section was wide open.
I don't know, but
they
like,
left the cards with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, it was like the gap opened up and then it closed type of deal. But on this game, that would 100% be a safety car. And if there were red flags in the game, that would have been a red flag moment. But in the old games, that didn't trigger a safety car. Like, even if you have one driver wreck you're going to have a safety car in that situation. So I think it's just the game is doing what it's supposed to do. It's giving a safety car when someone wrecks truly. And even on reduced, I think it's like happens a lot, but it's because people are wrecking. It's not like it's coming out because there's debris on the track or someone just spun. So I think in previous games, it used to be also if someone spun, sometimes it would trigger a safety car instantly. So now it's a lot more tuned in. But I also think the competition has gotten better, and you have more drivers on the same part of the track, meaning more incidents are going to happen, more wrecks are going to happen. And it's not necessarily that the drivers are dirty or clean, but when you have 20 drivers going into one single door, I mean, the chubby guys ain't making it. And that's just how it goes.
I will say, though, the tiers this season, because I've been in TCR now for 3 seasons, and during those 3 seasons, this is by far the most competitive I've ever seen TCR. If you look at all 3 tiers, let's start with silver, I really think you have 4 or 5 guys that could really compete for this championship. Like, legitimately, every week, you don't know which one of them is going to win the race. If you look at golden, you got D'Angelo, who right now is looking like the favorite, but I mean, his teammate is really quick, and he just joined golden, so, the potential is there for him. And then you got guys like Dirk Shark, who literally just joined TCR, and he's, top 3 in points? So, yeah, I mean, like, you have to be on it every week. It's insane.
Well, not only that, but as I mentioned a little earlier ago, GTR-LION has now joined the golden class, and he's a good driver. He's a good driver. He's going to be slot right up in there, and he's going to be a contender. He should, in theory, on paper, win some races. And I know he missed the first 2, but I think he can come back and contend for the championship, even missing those 2. Now, he is a former driver from the Platinum class, although he's been out of it for, I guess, a few seasons, and he's definitely capable of being in Platinum. To what extent, I'm not too sure, but it's not like he's going to blow golden out of the water. He had his first race back. He was able to get a podium, right, in 3rd?
No, he had penalties.
He finished
5th.
fifth.
He didn't. Oh, because he had the penalty. Yeah, you're right. I thought he finished on the podium. Oh,
On track,
that hurts. Okay, yeah, you're right. Oh, I thought he had a podium. I think I congratulated him in the group chat. I said, congrats on the podium.
Oh, shit.
Oh, man.
By the way, congrats on the win in Japan, Freeze.
Ooh.
Yeah. We'll get to you. We'll get to you. I have at least some wins up in the history books.
Sheesh.
So we'll get to you, True Boy. You just made this gonna be a lot of fun when we get to you.
And how long ago was that, Seed Freeze?
Yeah, it's been. Hey, Camden, we're coming to you too.
I know. We're both in that same category. Of,
you ain't getting out of this either, bud.
I know.
I have
right
won,
there with you, man.
I have won a race this season.
There you go, D'Angelo.
Congratulations.
Haven't you won 2?
I have one too.
Yeah. Well, here's D'Angelo. I'll ask you, since you're in golden now. I have 2 kind of. Firstly, what did you think of GTR-LION's return, and do you think he is capable enough of contending up there with yourself and Thibault? Like, are you scared of him?
I wouldn't say I'm scared, but I do like the competition that's added. I thought he had a really good return for his first race back in league racing. It was obvious. It was kind of obvious from the start that, being his first race back, he wasn't as, I wouldn't say as quick, but he definitely seemed timid at times, especially early in the race, going up, racing me and Thibault, because I felt like that I had been back for a while. Thibault had been doing this for a while, that we could go at each other and everything. And then once the race got going, he started to go at me, and then he GTR made a couple mistakes that really cost him the race. One being the penalty, and the other one him going off at turn 12, going straight on into the gravel trap. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do, and hopefully he can bring the fight to us, which I'd really like to see.
I have two things I want to mention. One, since we're already talking about Lion, I've just met the guy, and I really love his approach to races. Like Freeze mentioned, we were in a practice lobby for Baku earlier. The topic of setups came up, and without revealing too much information, Freeze and I
This
said,
is an
"What
easy
wins
way
are-"
to get you kicked out of the academy, Chipari. You better watch. You better use some fake numbers.
I got my setup.
I just like the way he approaches the race. He has the long game in mind. So, like you said, he was timid. Maybe another word might be he was patient. I don't know. I don't know the exact situation you're talking about, but like he has the long game in mind.
Yeah.
He doesn't want any incidents. He wants to finish a clean race towards the front, and he started P2. Picked up a few penalties along the way. I think there were track limits. But from what I saw in one race, I think he has to be in the contention discussion. And like since I've started watching the battle between Thibault, D'Angelo, and Lion, which I've lasted at least like the first half of the race, it feels like, was some of the most fun and like clean racing, competitive that I've watched in the past 2 seasons, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. Me and TeeJay were commentating that race, and he was especially saying, TeeJay was, that, this is as good as it gets. And he was kind of going and comparing that battle with everything we've seen so far this season, because unlike that battle, there's been a lot of aggressive driving, and there's been some incidents where people go side by side. But Lion and D'Angelo, they were really respectful of each other. And I think Lion would have had a better race if I didn't commentate or curse him. Like, I lost track. I literally lost track as to how many times I cursed him. So I'll take some blame as to why he didn't finish on the podium.
Yeah, well, GT, I'll tell you right now, he's been racing since I think season 4 of TCR, on and off some seasons. But he claims, now I don't know how accurate it is, but he claims that he's never gotten a penalty point ever in TCR. Now
All right,
he might have gotten a
Tico?
time penalty.
Where's Tico?
Yeah, where's Tico when you need him? Send your piss samples to Tico. He checks them, make sure we're all drug-free.
Suspiciously out of the country right now. Weird.
Yeah, well, GT's got to get that in. His piss cup's pending.
Jesus Christ.
We got to make sure no one's too much drugged up on Red Bull before the races. But no, Tico, he would probably know. We could probably figure it out, honestly. But he's one of the cleanest drivers you'll race with, and he's not going to put himself into a situation where he's going to wreck the car. I mean, very rarely I've never really seen him with the mistakes. Some could say that's a negative too, because sometimes you do need to put your elbows out and go for the move to get the better result. But I think he's just really there for like the good hard racing and good results. And I think if you have that style and approach, good results will normally happen. Like we're here at Baku in this week upcoming for TCR round 4. And a lot of drivers are just not going to finish the race.
Get my heart rate monitor ready.
If you can't finish Brazil, if you can't finish some of these other tracks, Australia, Japan, not saying that they're difficult tracks, they kind of are in some situations, but now you got walls right next to you. Baku, you have to finish, and I think a mindset like GTR's and others, I think Thibault, you could put him in the conversation as well. They are meant to, okay, let's finish the race first, because that's when you get the points. And I think that's a great mindset, and I think a lot of people need to open their eyes a little bit as far as some of the moves that are on displayed. And when you go for a move, there's a lot of times you're just kind of sitting behind a driver and you're just kind of waiting. picking your time nicely until it presents itself. But GTR is great in that regard. We also have oh, I lost my train of thought completely, but
If you don't gain it back, you mentioned Thibault. He won the race. That's worth mentioning. Teammates with D'Angelo, who's on the call here.
Australia. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. So it's been three Mercedes wins. Thibault getting his first one, and also first golden class win since getting promoted, which he did a few reserves last season, but like I think the time that he won is almost like right on time. Like I don't think it's too early. Like man, he just got promoted or he did a reserve race and he started winning. And it's not like oh he's waiting till race 7 to get a win. Like he's got moved up to golden and pretty much right on target, right on pace. He is you know, still competitive in golden and he has a good shot at going you know, back-to-back championships. I don't think we have no driver ever to get a championship in two separate classes.
Really?
Never. Never.
Wow, that actually really surprises me.
Yeah, it's come close. I think Bats Plus is really the closest person. He was runner-up last season. Towards the end of the season, he kind of went away from the championship, but I think around the midway point, Bats Plus was leading the championship of season 13 by a few points or so. But he was probably the closest one as he's your season 12 golden class champion. But I don't really think of any others that come to mind that are like, I mean, no one else has done it. But Thibault could definitely be the first one if he wins gold. And we've obviously never had, that means no driver winning in all three classes, which I think is very hard to do. But Thibault one day possibly could.
That elusive triple crown with the 3 TCR logos.
The TCR triple.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thibault, Camden and I raced against him in silver last year. Super quick. The guy's a machine. Very nice guy also off the track. I remember watching some reserve races last year, and for the most part, I feel like he was kind of midfield, which I remember watching and being like, wow, like this guy's wiping the floor with us, and then he's in the middle of the pack in golden. Interesting. And then I think it was in the final race of the season at Coda that he finally got a podium. I think I actually predicted the podium exactly in the comments. Leave a comment in the chat. But so he picked up right where he left off.
No one cares about your predictions. Go ahead.
Nope. He picked up right where he left off from that finale last year, reserving getting a podium, and got a podium in round 1 in Brazil. Round 2, he didn't get a podium. He DNF'd P12. I don't know why that happened. And then won in Australia. What happened in Japan?
Oh, we'll get there.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah. Well, actually, we could get there now if you want.
Yeah.
I have the videos ready. Are we ready?
You said that he doesn't. You said that Thibault was one of the clean drivers that doesn't get incidents, but something must have happened because he DNF'd, finished P12 in Japan.
Yeah. I mean, I think we had to have gotten to this conversation because eventually, because I think I'm upset with the whole situation because you know you look at golden class and you look at the addition that GTR just added to the golden class, but you look at the subtraction of SwitchBack, and it's kind of like it's just poor on him. It's just poor because I honestly thought he was a solid driver towards the front and would give an opportunity, to go for the golden championship. I don't know who I put as far as my preseason champion, but I think he was definitely in the conversation. But it was coming out of now. I think this whole situation, as far as the incident, I think we're seeing less of it in TCR due to the the season entry fee that really, I believe, really does put your commitment to the driver to the league. And I think you'll see a lot less people doing a so-called rage quit and just leave a league whenever. And this is our actually first driver to do that since implementing that, which I knew would happen. Someone would do it. But we used to see this constantly in previous seasons where you'd have an incident, you'd have, a steward decision. One party disagrees with the steward decision. They see the decision, they get so upset, and they leave without asking questions, without asking for an explanation, without appealing, without giving it a second chance. It's literally like first time incident, boom, you don't agree, boom, he's out. And it's such a disrespect to any league, I think, personally, because the league puts a lot of time in. The drivers you're racing with put a lot of time in. And also the driver that just left put a lot of time in as well. Like, you all kind of care about it. And to not seek the season out is a little poor, in my opinion. And it's not just him. I'm not picking on just SwitchBack here. And I don't even think, I think the incident is, we'll see right now. I guess we can get to it. I think who commentated this? Was it YouTuber and TeeJay? Or was it Camden and...
It was Thibault. It was Chabar. It was Chabar and TeeJay. Are we ready to play it? I don't have sound on it for obvious reasons.
Oh, he tried to watch the screen. I think he hit the wrong button.
Your Discord muted, Chabar.
Or he just really didn't want to answer the question.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not getting involved. Freeze went deep on this. Go ahead.
Headset issue. All right. Well, I'm gonna play the video. You guys watching it?
Yeah. So this is on board with
Thibault.
Thibault. Yeah, so Thibault.
This is Thibault's on board real fast.
So he's in P2 on the hard tire, and you have SwitchBack on the soft, lap 23 of 27. It leaves the door open, and gives the room. It gives the room again, and SwitchBack claiming that there was contact, and you could just see the carnage after the fact. And did we get a safety car from that?
Yes.
Yeah, we did. See, and so there you go. And you see here on board with SwitchBack, he's claiming that there was contact in the second portion of the chicane. I think that's turn 17.
Whatever the chicane is.
Between Thibault, front right, and that's why he got pushed on the curb. And ultimately, yeah. And then you can see everything else behind it. My initial reaction, I was watching the race. I wasn't able to watch the whole thing, but I was able to watch the last section, and I saw this. And you were on board. The stream was on board with SwitchBack, I believe. And as soon as I saw Thibault, or as soon as I saw SwitchBack get onto the exit curb, I'm like, that's it. It's over. Because I knew exactly what was going to happen coming out of there. He'd get on the curb and like right there, and it just no traction whatsoever. Ideally, so there was a kind of a little bit of confusion. I think a little bit of confusion, as if like, was this, if you were to just make a mistake like that, would you get, and let's say SwitchBack was racing alone, like he wasn't going side by side, he was just racing his own race, and he went on that curb and spun, and then a whole bunch of people got collected, he would not get a penalty. It's a racing incident. He just spun the car and people got collected. That just happens. But because SwitchBack is making an overtake attempt on Thibault, the two drivers are going side by side, and he's the one making the overtake, and SwitchBack failed to make the overtake cleanly. And due to the onboard footage with the audio, there was no contact between Thibault and SwitchBack. Thibault left plenty of room, and you would never... Thibault broke no rules, period. SwitchBack, ideally in my eyes, did not put on a clean overtake. He didn't finish the move. So there's the difference there as far as the overtaking and then just running alone, spinning on a curb and getting collected. It's not what happened after the fact. It's the penalty is strictly on he didn't finish the move, and I think that's the big portion there. So he disagrees with he thought he got pushed off, which I definitely disagree with. I don't know about what you guys think on this incident, but I thought we'd bring it up because now you look at some of the races and you don't see SwitchBack up there, and you're like, "Well, what happened?" Well, this is what happened. He does not believe he deserves a penalty, but also didn't appeal it, so doesn't make sense.
Why is he wearing a mask?
COVID fanatic.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a fireproof COVID mask. I don't know.
It's that drip.
Yeah, I guess nowadays, right? It's probably $50 on a mask. No, I don't know. I'm not. It is kind of funny, but I don't know the actual reason, so I don't want to. Maybe there's a bigger reason than that I don't know of, so I don't want to comment on that really.
Well, I was just saying because I would have loved to see his initial reaction, whether or not he truly was like, oh, what the heck was that? Or if he didn't really react at all, which tells me that, he probably knew he was in the wrong.
Now, yeah. I don't know how you guys see it, but I see zero reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
even with them, like nothing.
Yeah.
It was like,
it's like, oh, Thibault broke my fall. Thank you. Now it's great.
And he did actually get some damage there. I didn't know until then. And also, I'm also not a steward for the Golden Class. I'm just giving that. Those are my opinions as a driver and outsider there. So I didn't have any say on that incident. But I do agree with the penalty towards SwitchBack. Now, is the penalty, he got 10 seconds, 2 penalty points. Is it too rough for it, or is, that could all be debated. But, that also wasn't discussed, questioned, or appealed. And I think, to think that incident, that Thibault's at fault, you're crazy. If you would say racing incident, that meaning both drivers are at fault. But what did Thibault do that wrong at all? The only thing that happened there was the clip of the loss of traction and his SwitchBack losing traction, causing contact with the side pod at Thibault. So I think that's clear cut. But so that is why we're down SwitchBack, which is just unfortunate for him, and
that's how Thibault ended up P12 DNF in Japan, putting him P3 in the Drivers' Championship. We talked about P1 D'Angelo, who's here, 2-time race winner. His teammate Thibault P3. Not one mention of P2 RockStar Vanker in the Haas.
Yeah, well, he's my guy too. He's on the
he's on the Academy.
Driver Academy. Yeah.
He came in with a P2 in Brazil, in Japan P6, and I think he got taken out on at least once early in the race, so he had a comeback drive, and P3 in Australia. So 2 podiums and a P6 comeback. He's having a nice season himself.
Yeah, a couple podiums. Yeah. Okay, Camden, you had some.
Well, I'm just saying because just from a commentator's perspective of doing Golden, I've noticed he's just been quiet. That's why I think he's not getting, the recognition necessarily, because in Brazil, he took a different strategy when the rain came, and that elevated him up into the podium. In Australia, he had a very quiet race because he was a few seconds behind D'Angelo, LION, and Thibault, who were all battling for their position. And he ended up getting a podium because of LION's penalty. So RockStar, he's just smooth, consistent, doesn't really make any mistakes. And like I said, he hasn't really been, I don't want to say not exciting, but sometimes that's just not a bad thing. If you can just drive your own race and get solid thirds and fourths, that will easily keep you in championship contention. And I think RockStar is going to do that this season, where he's just going to have just those solid races, that get you a bunch of points.
Could you say he's TCR's smooth operator?
Sure.
I had to do that. I had to.
Yeah, no, he's having a good one. I mean, I don't think we've seen the best yet from RockStar. I think he's just getting settled, and his teammate there, Sir Charles, little struggle to the season. Former silver champion of season 12. But I think he'll get back up there, Sir Charles, and
I think
once he gets his headset
issues. Like, I don't think it's him. I think he's had bad luck.
Yeah, bad luck and just weird stuff happening. Getting it. It takes some time when you're on a new game to really figure out all the new quirks of a game. You gotta. I wish we didn't have to say this, but we have to figure out the new glitches. We have to figure out what's wrong with the game in order to perfect the game. Like, you have to be so in tune with the game and what needs to be done, and it takes some time to work out all the quirks. But there's no doubt he'll get there for sure. He'll get there, and RockStar will be. I think they both can contend for the win, and I just wanted to praise Thibault on the podcast, because he's
a god.
He's such a good sport. He really is, and he's a true champion. And I'm happy that we have him as a champion, because the way he responded towards the incident in Japan, and just the racing side by side after the fact, he's just a true sport, and that should not go unnoticed. And it's always good to race with people like that. Like, you guys are kind of lucky to be racing. D'Angelo, you're lucky to be racing alongside Thibault, GT, RockStar, Sir Charles, like all these other guys. And the two, you can't skip out on Got Any and Fire Up. I mean, those. It's just the golden roster is really good, and it's fun that you have a little bit of that veteran aspect in the class, which helps with the racing product, which always helps.
Yeah, and like last season, Thibault almost won constructors single-handedly in silver season 13, and never gloated. Really gracious, thanked people for congratulating him. Great guy. There's a statement in the chat from Thibault regarding the incident. I don't know if we're trying to share that or not.
I don't know. Let's see if I can find it.
I have it up. You kind of alluded to it. He responded to SwitchBack leaving with, "Really a bad mentality that does not deserve to ride with this good group of guys. Fair play and an important value, and this guy had no." So, there you go. He claims SwitchBack had bad sportsmanship and doesn't deserve to race with this good group of guys with fair play. Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's just shocking. It is what it is.
Allez, Thibault.
Yeah. But I wanted to ask you both, actually, Camden and Shabar. You guys are teammates, but before we get to silver and you guys as Alfa Romeo drivers and part of the academy, how is it? I know, Camden, you've done a bunch of commentary for us last season. So how is the commentary for you? How have you been enjoying that role for the Golden Class head commentary? And also, how was it getting joined alongside TeeJay? And then, I'll follow up to Chabar. How was your first co-com in, I think it was round 2, for the Golden Class alongside TeeJay as main? How has that been going for you?
Hey, Camden, you want to start?
Yeah, so I love doing the commentary for Golden Class. I was able to do some races last season, really didn't do much, and this season I'm going to have the ability to do the whole season, it sounds like. So I'm really looking forward to that, because it just gets me more involved with TCR. You know, it's one thing to watch the races, you know, because I race in silver and I can watch golden and platinum, but it's just a different perspective when you go and call the races, you know, for the YouTube and the Twitch. I cannot wait to have TeeJay on for more races. I'm
Hey,
telling
yo.
you, that was
Hey,
probably
Ooh, every other
TeeJay
word.
in the house. I got to tell you, that was probably the most fun I've ever had doing a broadcast. TeeJay, man, like, I don't think he has enough confidence in himself when it comes to the booth. He does a really good job. Like, it's just really easy to just to do a race because, like, he's laid back, but he also knows what he's talking about. And it's just a great show. And I think you need that aspect, too, of commentary. Like, you need to call the races as it is, but you need to spice it up a little bit, you know, like people aren't, you know, going to be as interested if you're just like, you know, oh, here they are, they're racing for positions. So yeah, I love the role, and I hope I can, you know, do the whole season.
And Chibar, how was your tango with TeeJay in the booth?
Yeah, so to respond to Camden, I think he's been doing a great job, and I look forward to more races of him and TeeJay in the booth moving forward. I think Camden does a really polished job following the action. TeeJay and I in the booth, it was essentially both of our first times. I think TeeJay may have hopped in once before.
When he wrecked. I think that's the only time he joined. I think he's done a few commentaries in certain situations. If he wrecked out of a race, he said he'll join the booth midway through.
Sideline reporter.
Yeah, which is funny because like some of the races I participated raced alongside him, and then I get in the booth and then he's asking me questions. I'm like, well, weren't you in the race?
No,
Sometimes the booth sees more than the driver.
Yeah,
that is true.
Leading into the Japan race, TeeJay and I both wanted to be the number 2 guy, the color analyst of the commentary. So it was like a game of hot potato. And we kind of agreed on like a 55-45 split on who's doing main, which you probably don't want going into a race, but we had no other experience. And we started off with an audio issue that lasted all of qualifying and probably the first few laps. But once we got past that, I think we had... It wasn't the most sophisticated professional booth, but I think we had a fun time with it and caught the action just enough. If any week TeeJay can't make it, I'm happy to come back in and take his spot alongside Camden on another race. I think it was a fun time.
Yeah, no, it's been interesting. Unfortunately, I won't be able to watch too many golden races, although I think I'll still be able to tune in from here and there to catch some of the action. But from what I've seen, it's been kind of fun to see you guys up there, and you know, I think over time, when you have that same person in the booth alongside you week on week on week, you start to understand each other. You work out a few of those I guess awkward moments, just like the very small minor details of the commentary. And for TeeJay, I think he did a good job too, and Chibar too. He did good. And
was it D'Angelo that messaged after the race? Wow, can't wait to hear Camden and TeeJay in the booth together.
That was me. That was me. That was me.
Me too. I agree. And like to piggyback off what Camden said, I think TeeJay does have that good. Like he has easy to talk to, has the banter, but also knowledgeable about the game. Can actually analyze what's going on, whether that's strategy, call out an understeer, what have you. I think he's good in that role.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, camden-luca, you're a silver class driver for Alfa Romeo.
Yes, sir.
But you're coming into this season as actually first time we're kind of separated the roles in this form, but you are the silver class coordinator as well. So you get a chance to kind of work out the silver class, which you've done a good job. absolutely. I mean, I don't even have to think about the class at all. And you drive, and then you do the commentary in Golden. So, how has the how's that role worked out, and how are you enjoying your silver roster? And I mean, you're competing against them as well, which is a interesting scenario where you get to manage the roster, but also try to beat them.
Yeah. How do you like inviting people to beat you, Camden?
Oh, it's just fantastic. Yeah, literally. What was it? I think it was Japan, to where Nando was not on the roster 2 hours before that race. I made sure that he would be able to race that race. You know, I did everything to make sure that, you know, he was all set. And guess what? He wins that race, and I come second to him. So that's just how it goes.
Good job, but also bad job.
Yes, yes. But no, I mean, I'm really enjoying this role of running the class, and I'm not gonna lie. Like at first, I was a little skeptical, just as to whether or not I would enjoy taking on that role, because it's kind of a big deal. Like I'm in charge of that entire class, and I set up the lobbies, and everything has to work because of me, pretty much, and it's really good because like it gives me that role, but not too much power. It's not like I'm running the whole league or anything, because I used to run a league, and I ended up stopping it just because I just wasn't enjoying it too much. But yeah, it is really interesting racing against all of the silver guys every week. I don't feel like it gives me, like any more authority, like, oh, I can race these guys however I want. I'm the boss, But I don't know if like it's affected other people in how they race me. I don't think it has, but I think it is interesting, like the class coordinator being in the same field as that class. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, my scenario is different because I'm also an owner or admin, however you want to look at it. But and the coordinator for the class. So I hope people don't race me different, but I'm also a champion or so. So I don't know how people race me, because I don't race myself. Although I don't know, sometimes I guess you do, depending on the moves you make.
D'Angelo, run a reserve race and report back to us how people race.
I got you. I'll run Baku. Maybe I'll win that. That'd be kind of funny.
Please don't.
Just sit back and let them crash out.
But I think for those listening, just to clarify, the coordinator role has nothing to do with like anything involving stewarding. So you have no influence on that at all. It's pretty much just the day in and out of all the management of the roster, making sure the drivers are informed, points, and the lobby set up and all that fun stuff. But it's kind of a fun point, because silver's our lowest class, and there's a lot of new drivers that have never done league racing before. Some also have had experience, but I feel like I always get for me commentating, and I get to see these younger, well, I don't know if they're young, but I'm gonna call them younger drivers, and try to help them learn through the commentary. But if the coordinator could also be in tune with the roster that's coming in, and really make sure those drivers are feeling welcomed in, I think that's kind of more of the role of the it's kind of an HR department for the class.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. And there are like a couple of things I try and do to keep things engaged. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but every Tuesday, every race day for silver, I put in a race day GIF to the chat, but it's a different one every week.
Oh, okay.
I'm starting to run out of options, because like I look them up on Google, and like there's not many that say race day. So I might have to go and just start making some.
Should do Fernando in the chair at Brazil and put race day on it.
Yeah, let's talk offline. Maybe we'll make some of our own if there's slim pickings.
Mm.
Yeah, we can't give up too many options. But I didn't know you did that. But now I gotta watch out for them every Tuesday to see what's the new one that's posted.
Freeze, like I miss the Monkey Mafia ready up.
I do, man. I miss those.
Grid.
Unfortunately, not on the grid. But I mean, man, if he was, we would have had a Monkey Mafia Silver Class custom made ready up TCR symbol ready
For
to go.
those not catching on to the reference that aren't in the Season 13 Silver chat, Monkey Mafia was a racer on the grid that would, on race days, post this little monkey doing hula hoop. Do you like? You don't ride a. What do you do with a hula hoop?
You hula hoop a hula hoop.
A monkey hula hooping. We were gonna add some logos to it.
Yeah, then it would have been a good idea. Well, when he comes back, I hope
so.
The return.
He'll when he makes his return, he'll do that.
Return of the Planet of the Monkey Mafia.
Yeah.
You know,
go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I have an idea for that. I think the new one should be of you climbing the mountains in New Hampshire.
Yeah. Nice, Camden. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, New Hampshire's great.
Yeah, you've gone recently, haven't you?
Yeah, I've.
It's an inside joke, by the way.
Yeah.
Nobody should understand what we're talking about.
Small state could probably pinpoint the location.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed. We're gonna end it there, and thanks for coming. We'll see you next week. I was gonna say. Well, I was gonna say. Well, speaking of the points and you doing the points and stuff as a coordinator, let's run through.
Look at them.
Does somebody have the points to run down the
I
drivers?
I have the current results up.
Okay.
Would you like drivers first?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go until we reach you, Chabar. Go ahead.
So let's go through the whole grid.
Let's go.
In P1, we got Rafa Hulk 57 with 41 points. Following him, we have Blin Machine. Third place on the call, camden-luca, 37 points.
Yes, sir.
Followed by rookie racer Speedy Gunner. In P5, we have Nando Kamers, who missed the first race, was a later addition, won in Japan. F1 Nerd P6 with 24 points, tied with him in tied for P6, I guess, with also 24 points. Broom Handle. P8 Bags 2319, 19 points. P9 Omega with 12. P10 Lil Nas X with 10 points. P11 Call Me CJ with 6 points. And P12 you got myself, Chabar, 3 points.
Oh man. All right, and for the constructors, just do like maybe the top
3.
5. So.
Top 5. First place, Red Bull of Blin Machine and Formula Jonah. I think I said Broom Handle. That's how the record keeping is, but that's also known as Formula Jonah. 65 points, Red Bull, P1. P2, Rafa Hulk and Oreo with 59. P3, Ferrari, which is Speedy and Omega, 46. P4, Alfa Romeo of Camden and myself. P5, McLaren, 33 points. That is Nando and MM.
Yes.
M&M.
All right. So, Alfa Romeo crew, we got both unique. We have the whole the driver lineup here for Alfa Romeo. How would you guys
the racing debrief debut of teammates?
Yeah, I mean it's right here. Right here. How would you guys evaluate your season so far? As a team and then individually. I mean, don't take too long. You only got, don't take the whole floor,
So, I don't know how readily available the results page is for everyone in the league. I'm looking at the league statistics, team statistics. Maybe D'Angelo can put this in post. I'm looking at the constructors standings. There's an Excel sheet of like average race result, best race result, fastest lap, position change, all the different stats in a nice table. There's a single cell in the whole league that is red, and it's the Alfa Romeo average position change of a negative 2.9. All the other cells are white or green, meaning positive or 0, and the single 2.9 negative red cell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I will say is that we're 3 races in. We have 11 to go, so it's a long season. Shabar, I will say I do like how we've been working together to, get on and practice, at least a couple of days a week to work on setups. And I think there definitely is no lack of collaboration there. The results for you haven't necessarily been there, but one of those races definitely was not your fault, and you were up towards the front when you got into an incident. So you should have more points than what you have. But for me, I mean, I can't complain. I am a little frustrated still over Australia because, looking back on it, I think, I hate to say it, I think that incident was my fault.
You need to comment on open investigations at the time.
Well, I mean, we pretty much know what's going to happen, I feel like.
There's no investigation. As your attorney, just move on.
Yeah, but anyways, no. Yeah, there's some good tracks coming up for me, and I just can't continue to lose points. That's the thing. Baku is arguably my best track. So I think for me, I need to win the race, at least get a podium, because, the more points I lose to Rafa and Blin, the harder it's going to be to get the championship. And so, yeah, I mean, for me, just to summarize the season, I think, like I said, we've worked well together. We just got to get the results.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've really enjoyed being teammates with you. I had a revolving door of mostly non-existent teammates last season, so it's nice having a teammate to talk to and about whether that's setups and practice together. I think you took that rather humbly. You are P3 in the standings. That's a good spot to be in. And you do, of the 3 races, you started on pole twice. So it's hard to gain positions when you're starting P1. So I think that also contributes to why we have the negative position change. Because most of the time, statistically speaking, you can't gain positions. You have a podium, you have a fastest lap. I think you're holding up your end of the bargain. I wish I had more points than 3 after 3 rounds myself, but maybe Tuesday night at 8:45 Eastern, I can bounce back in Baku.
Yeah, what do you I know Camden's like our guest is Chabor's more of our fill-in for this one. But Chabor, how do you feel as far as the difference between last season preparedness into this season preparedness? And although the results aren't necessarily there or thereabouts, what's the biggest difference? Do you feel a difference from the 2 seasons, your first season and then this one here?
Yeah, I guess there really is like a world of difference. Last season, I had 0 league racing experience. I had just gotten a wheel, so I was a blank canvas when it comes to league racing. And I made as a joke this graphic after the midway point of the season of like, Chabar debut season, 2 points. Like, kind of ironically, if anyone's a basketball fan, there's that Tony Snell stat line of like 28 minutes played, 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, like just nothing. So I didn't have a great start, but then coincidentally, it coincided with me practicing more with you and others, and I have the second half standings of season 13. I did finish P8 if you only look at the second half of last season. So going from 0 experience, 0 races to P8, I was pretty proud of that improvement. So coming off of that, in the off season, I took off traction control personally and was looking to progress from P8 and try and help Alfa Romeo win a Constructors' Championship. And averaging a point per race right now is not getting the job done. So there's a difference in expectations of like going from rock bottom, I'll take anything, to hoping to compete in some kind of cup and not coming through is a different approach. I would say it's very different. In preparedness, I think I'm just as prepared. I think it's a mixture of, I mean, some races maybe I wasn't prepared. Like we looked at Australia and looking at some footage, you said like, oh, looks like you have a setup issue because of the way I'm turning in this turn. So maybe that's a lack of preparedness on my time. I was busy with work, but I think I'm as prepared as I was for any race last season. I just don't think it's been my time.
Yeah. And I don't really know exactly the timeline as far as new drivers and their time to succeed. It's very rare we get someone that joins TCR first league ever and they've had 0 racing experience. Like no GT racing, no NASCAR racing, like nothing, no league racing experience ever.
Yep.
So I don't really know the timeline, but I think there's a pretty steep learning curve in league racing, and just understanding, like I said earlier, like understanding all the quirks of the game. But I think you've done well, and I've seen a lot of improvement and potential. I think the problem is just you need to try to slow things down in the way that it comes a lot more second nature, a lot more natural, because I look at the laps and you go through some of the corners really well, but then hooking that entire thing up and then hooking that up for the entirety of the race as best as possible is now the next key. But I think you look back at a few races, you had some good pace. Japan, Australia, a little off, but you had the DNF there, and then hopefully bounce back for Baku. Now Australia for the silver race had a lot of just craziness. Like I don't even know what to call it. Motion roller coaster is what it's been named, but I mean you had. We've been pretty lucky, D'Angelo. We've had 3 crazy races.
3 bangers
To start the season. It's about to be 4. We're going to Baku.
Bro, I wouldn't be surprised if only 5 people finished the race on Tuesday.
That's a generous number.
No one finishes the race. What is the rule if no one finishes the race? I'm really curious.
Last man standing.
I don't know if that's a great question.
Where's Tico when you need him?
Because in order to finish the race and get points, you need to finish 90% or more.
I thought it was 75.
No, 90. 90. Yeah, well, at least I know for us it's 90. I think F1 is 90% rule.
So
if
90
you DNF,
would be like 24.
Yeah, right around. And
I really hope we don't need a ruling on this.
Yeah, that'd be imagine. Oh my goodness.
Dude,
only no one finishes.
Dude,
You might need to get that set just in case, though. With the silver class, I mean,
it might happen.
Proactive message Tico when he gets back. And by the way,
what happens if this happens?
Honestly, yeah, that's a great question. I have no idea what would happen. I don't even know if there's a rule book ruling in that for F1. Maybe they just wouldn't count the race. Like it's a it
run it back.
Apply. Yeah,
run it back.
Yeah, you get like an hour to fix your cars and let's go back out.
Shortest commentary ever.
But in the Australia race, it was interesting because you had, I remember towards the end of it, you had. Now I can't believe Rapahulk still won that race because he pitted at one time, and he hit the wrong setting or put the wrong tire on, and he was well down the order, and he was behind Nando. He was behind Camden, Blin, Formula Jonah, and who's the other guy? Who's the other top runner?
The silver race report for Australia.
There's one other guy that was pretty.
Speedy.
Yeah, I mean Speedy, he deserves it. I mean, he's doing
Bro
pretty
is
good to start the
P4,
season.
bro, in the championship and got flamed all off season.
The
Yeah.
final result for Australia was Rafa P1, followed by F1 Nerd, P3 Bags, P4 Speedy, P5 Camden, 6 Nando, 7 CJ, 8 Blin, 9 Oreo, 10 Diego.
I think it was. I don't know. I don't
And those
know
were the only 10
that
finished.
finished. Yeah, yeah. I don't know who else I was saying. Maybe that was all it was. But he was behind everybody, and then carnage happened in front of him, spins, wrecks, and man, he was able to climb back up in that last stint and win the race, which was very unexpected. But you also had. Now, the Red Bull started off the season quite strong. They had a 1-2 in Brazil of Blin and Formula Jonah. Solid races in round 2. Then you go to round 3, and man, they had a lap where they both just... It was disaster for the Red Bull team, and they lost a lot of points as a team, but also in the Drivers' Championship with Blin losing the lead now. I believe Rafa Hulk is now the leader.
Rafa Hulk, 57 points, Blin P2 with 41.
Yeah, and then Camden right behind.
37.
So I think now, Camden, you were in that incident. Now, I was, for those watching that commentary, whenever an incident happens, I usually will I'll put blame on whoever I think is at blame. Initial reaction. But I don't get to see everything in clear detail. So I did say that it was an interesting incident when I was on board in that final sequence. I don't know, D'Angelo, if you could even get the stream up and get. I don't know if you can do that of the silver race, but I'll continue and see if you could. But I was on board with, I think, Rafa Hulk and Bags, and then right in front you had Nando and then yourself, Camden, overtaking. And I said on stream that it was that you dropped, I think I said you dropped the ball or you botched it.
Bottled it.
You bottled it. Oh, you bottled it and you just spun on traction. But there was actually contact there, and that's kind of what sent you around. And Rafa Hulk had the perfect timing. He went down the inside of Bags, got the positioning. Bags couldn't go because Nando and yourself were like sideways on the track, right on the apex, and Rafa just went around and turned 4, around the outside, got all of yous, and that was able to lift him up into the lead there. But what did you think of the incident there? And then also, I think that there's a lot of drivers. I think a lot of people are, and you might be one of them, but you don't have to say if you don't want to. But I think this will be out after the Stewart incidents are reported. But I think there's a lot of drivers self-inflicting themselves, as the driver who reported is the actual person that's going to get the penalty. So what did you think of the incident? What did you think of it?
Yeah, so just going back to the incident real quick, let's go to the corner before that. So in turn 3, we were side by side. Nando sent it in. He was to my right, and I did this really nice switchback move, was barely able to get right by him and go to his right side. So then we go into turn 4, and at that point, that was the battle for the win. He was on older tires, but Speedy ahead of us had a boatload of penalties. So that essentially was P1 on track. And turn 4 at Australia is really hard to go side by side through there because it's narrow and it's really easy to, have your lines, intersect. And that's pretty much what happened. Looking back on it, I definitely could have given a lot more room. But I was worried that Nando was going to do what he did in turn 3 and send it in on me. That's why I was really hesitant to go, really far wide, because he could have sent it in on me and did the same thing again and put me in a vulnerable spot. So, put blame on who you want, but I think in the end, I think it was a racing incident between us. And then going on the the incident reports, I think people need to look, and this is me included. I think people need to look at the footage before they go and submit stuff. Not just that, but you need to get in a good headspace. I was, and Shabar can speak for this, I was devastated after that, because not only did that take away the win, but I would have had the points lead. Like, I lost, think about it, how many points did I lose to Rafa? I'm 20 points behind him. Like, that, if I, later on in the season lose the championship, it's going to be, because of that. So, I think you just got to, take some time after a moment like that, just, settle down, make sure, don't do anything prematurely, such as send a report. But I got a feeling that's going to happen a lot this season. Not with me, but with other drivers, just because of how competitive everything is.
Yeah, sleep on it. You get 24 hours.
Yeah.
I have the incident pulled up too.
Oh yeah,
you got a whole week before the following race.
Well, but like to submit a incident, I believe there's a 24-hour clock since the race. But
right,
sleeping on it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Go back like 5 or 10 seconds if you were able to.
I'll see if I can find the straight.
Actually, yeah, there you go. Perfect. So
right,
this is on board with bags. This is actually my
slow motion
perspective here.
Or do you want to do real time?
It'd be kind of hard. Yeah, do real time first, and if we want to, we can go back and do slow motion.
Yeah, so right there, Nando, kind of, yeah, you could try slow. I think if you hit the arrow button, I've been told it does.
Yeah, the left arrow is like 5 seconds back, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will be a good angle
right
here.
No, on your keyboard, if you hit the left.
I don't
arrow.
have arrows on this. I have a 60% keyboard.
Oh.
60. Oh hell.
I want to see if we can see the move right here in turn 3.
Is that 0.5?
I want to see this switchback.
All right. Although, like,
ooh, man, Rafa goes in there deep. I mean, but Bags was content with it. He on the post race interviews, and right here, I didn't see I thought he just spun.
You don't see much.
I didn't see it in front. I thought I didn't see there was contact there, and I thought he just spun it on the exit curb. Because I wasn't focused with them. I was more focused with Bags and Rafa here, and then right like there, I see it, and I didn't see Camden at all in the picture. But yeah, there was contact, and you see Rafa goes around the outside of everybody, avoids it, and then all he has to do is stay within however many seconds of Speedy.
8 or 9, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9.
I think that was in the penultimate lap too. That was the deciding factor. Because if Camden, if you got out alive, if Nando got out alive, that would have been the win for sure. Because Speedy had a lot of penalty. Yeah.
We'd be having a whole different conversation.
And another one I want to look at as well, just because if you go back a little bit, I wanted to look at the one between Ben Swervin. I almost said Ben.
Timestamp for that.
Let's see, lap. You go like lap 23-ish. Here, keep going back. It was like the last yellow. Yeah, a little bit.
Oh,
yeah, right before that. Yep.
Let's get
so I almost said Ben Segrist, but those are two different drivers. Ben Swervin, Ben Swervin and Segrist making the return to Silver Class. Ben putting on a great race, and this is firstly, Blin almost took himself out right then. He almost hit the wall.
Got a penalty too.
Yeah. And this one here, I was very critical here, and this one could also be, I think, self-inflicting, in my opinion. Blin Machine reporting this, and in my opinion, Blin isn't. He's making the overtake now, like he's dive bombing around the outside.
He doesn't leave Ben any room at all, in my opinion. He kind of did a Hamilton on Alonso right there.
And I would have to agree.
Because Blin's going for the apex, and Ben has to avoid that entire curb altogether because he's gonna get floor damage if he jumps it.
You literally floor damage. The red curb you can't take at all.
No.
But right here, look at this. Yeah, keep, and then I look back, but man, he almost hit that wall. He was all the way off. Blin, which I don't know if he was looking back or maybe he was trying to look the inside, but this will be an interesting one of the stewards report. It could be racing incident deemed, but man, such an unfortunate way to come back for Ben. He was running a good race, and you could see that's what triggered the safety car, which then triggered the following incident of Camden, Nando, and Rafa getting that win. Because you could see Rafa was leading then, and he pitted in this sequence and had that incident there. But a crazy race. I'm looking forward to this week in Azerbaijan. It's going to be even more chaos.
Yeah, I'm not here to comment on silver incidents. I'm inherently biased in all of them.
Shocker.
Typically, yeah. I mean, I think admitting that is the first step. Typically, Blin's really fair and clean driver, I'd say. Like, I've never had an issue personally, at least with him wheel to wheel. If it were to be his fault, gotta wonder if he felt the pressure or like was frustrated from earlier in the race,
Right.
and was trying to push harder. I don't know. Like I said, I don't really want to comment on it too much. But you mentioned LION in Baku splitting the Red Sea and going through the incident on the front straight. Speedy just got 4 overtakes in turn 11 right there.
Yeah, Speedy is he's having a great start to the season and is just, I mean, his start at the race was crazy too. He had he go on the grass a little bit. I even commented on it during the commentary, the opening lap, the start of the race. He had a great start, and Speedy's been doing really good there. But just to close the point on the self-inflicting incidents, my opinion of that would be, I feel like Camden said it pretty spot on of that the driver really needs to take some time before submitting, unless it's clear cut and you know, like, all right, and you can have that sense of real, knowing what the incident is. But I think what's more important is if it's kind of a 50-50, I don't know if I should submit incident, I would go right to the back in the old days. I seem old as far as league racing goes.
Back in your day.
Back in my prime, and I didn't hit my prime yet. We used to always, instead of submitting, you would private message or talk with the driver you had the incident with. You'd talk it over. You'd find that person's point of view. He would watch your point of view. You would watch the stream. You talk about it. You get a sense of, okay, what's your opinion? What's my opinion? And most times you'd be like, all right, I'm not going to submit you. And that gained respect. Then later on, if the same other person had the incident, but now it's vice versa, he'd be like, all right, no worries, I'm not submitting. You had my back earlier on. I'm not going to submit you here. And it's pretty much just kind of the drivers holding each other accountable, which goes a long way in respect on the grid. Nowadays, and I've changed in order to compete and try to gain every point you can for a championship position in the championship standings, you have to submit almost everything, but not everything, because I think this week in Silver we saw a few instances where drivers have submitted and not looking at the other person's point of view, not giving it a day to sleep on, not looking at the stream, or maybe they did, but they still felt like they should have submitted it, which is fine. That they have that right to it, but nowadays you just kind of have to submit everything, trying to get every single point. And for me, I say screw everybody. I submit every damn thing. If it costed my race significantly, I'm submitting you. And in the old time of league racing, I probably wouldn't have. It was just like, you better fix your shit on track, or else type of deal. And we didn't get the stewards involved. Now you get the stewards involved, and you get all this. So it's gonna be fun watching those steward decisions come out, and we'll check that out when we have the stream on Tuesday, tomorrow when this is posted. But yeah, so that's kind of the TCR rundown of Australia, and I think Baku's just going to be crazy. So that's my prediction there. But it's any final thoughts on the TCR aspect of it, or should we get into the little driver market?
Little driver market.
All right, so it's heavily rumored, but obviously Oscar Piastri signing with McLaren. Daniel Ricciardo is out of McLaren. There's still a seat at Alpine, Haas, even Williams, that second seat there. Unsure of if Ricciardo might go to Alpine. Will Gasly go to Alpine? Mick Schumacher to Alpine. Who's in the Haas then? Is it going to be a returning driver? Antonio Giovinazzi, Hulkenberg, any Formula E drivers, IndyCar drivers? Like, who's going to fill it? Not surprised by Piastri going to McLaren. I think there's a lot of risk there because you're still bringing in a young driver that has never driven a Formula One car. But if you want the future, you know, Lando and Piastri, if you sign it and boom, that's your future, great. But what happens if he doesn't succeed? I mean, you had Ricciardo for 3 years, and he was kind of your 3-year deal, and he was struggling.
Was it really 3 years? I thought it was 2.
Well, it's been 2, but he was signed for 3.
Sure, yeah.
So he's leaving 1 year early, but I mean, McLaren just cut ties. So what happens if this kid gets 2 years and then he's gone? You know what I mean? It's a fine line of picking up that young talent. But for those that, you know, do work, like some that are on the grid today, you know, it's proven, you know, that you want to go with a young driver, but I think we'll kind of see how it goes. But I'm still thinking Ricciardo is not going to be on the grid next year. I think he'll try either sabbatical. I personally think when we did a few predictions earlier in previous episodes that he's going to be retiring, because I feel like once you leave the sport, it's really hard to come back. And if you do, it's going to be at a lesser degree. Not really race winning contending.
Come back a few months later in your same role.
What was that?
Unless you're Magnussen, who comes back a few months later in the same role.
Well, he did miss a year.
Yeah, he missed a year.
But yeah, I mean, but yeah, he had a few times where he went on and off. But
as to your concern about signing the inexperienced driver from McLaren, F1's so cryptic about contracts. We really don't know the details. It could be a 1-year deal. There could be just an opt-out for the team. Who knows? So there could be very low liability McLaren side, and it's pretty evident Danny's just hasn't been getting it done for McLaren. He's been outside of Monza that 1 year. He's been really outperformed week in, week out by Lando, and McLaren wasn't happy with it. So they're taking a flyer with Piastri, who a lot of people seem high on. I'm no talent scout. I've never seen him race. People seem to think he's good. As opposed to him, is there an experienced driver you would have rather them go for to try and get some more guaranteed points? What's the alternative here?
Or McLaren.
For McLaren.
I think it was the good decision for them to go with Piastri, though, because, like you said, Ricciardo really has not been doing what he is expected to do. And even if, for whatever reason, Piastri doesn't perform and they get rid of him after a couple of years, well, what if they decided to go with Ricciardo instead of Piastri? What if they did that and Ricciardo sucked, next year or whatever? Then we're saying, they should have gone with Piastri. So, whichever way you look at it, I think this was the right move. And even if you have other guys out there, like other experienced guys, I think Piastri is the right choice to go with.
Yeah, I don't know what other options they would have. I think, Lando's kind of taken in that number 1 driver role. He's had now the experience under his belt, so I don't really know, who else they had options for other than a younger talent.
Of the top 3 teams to get a podium this year.
Yeah. I mean, Lando, always seems to get those like sneaky podiums here and there. But I mean,
I'm a Lando guy. I think he's good.
oh yeah,
He's good enough that people are calling him overrated, which tough to say in like an F1.5 car, but I think he's good.
An F shit car.
at least this year. I mean, last year was
Yeah, I don't
pretty
know.
good.
It's what the fuck happened?
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of the Mercedes cars kind of struggled, but you know, now they're starting to get back into it. Because at the beginning of the season, you had a lot of the Ferrari teams like Haas, Alfa Romeo, and Ferrari obviously, you know, working well, and the other, you know, AlphaTauri and Red Bull were still good. So all the Mercedes teams kind of took a step back, big step back, compared to where they were the previous year. But who do you think would get that Alpine? I still think Gasly is getting that Alpine seat.
I think Gasly gets it too. I think Alpine want to make it an all French team with him and Ocon because it'd be good for mainly PR in France. So I kind of think they want to get that done.
And I like Ocon. I think he's a great driver. I think he's underrated as a driver.
He's
I don't think
very selfish though.
Yeah, on track, he is not afraid to like go against the team and really say like, no, I'm leading this. It's my position, which I like from him, but it can lead to some incidents. I know we had Ocon and Alonso at Saudi Arabia earlier this year, and they were just going a great battle. I mean, really good stuff, but it was clean. But I tell you what, once that car gets up to, you know, if it does, starts getting up to podium and winning race, you know, championship caliber team, those clean battles aren't going to be so clean anymore. I mean, those are going to be, you're going to get less room, and there's going to be more incidents. And we've seen before when Ocon was at Force India and Racing. I don't know if he was ever at Racing Point, but
No.
Force India with Perez. I mean, them two always collided, and I think it was a lot mainly because of Ocon. But I still think he's a really quick driver. Like, I don't think who's leading. Is it Alonso or Ocon as far as points?
As far as
That's
points
a
aren't
good question.
concerned, I feel like Alonso is leading and has had failures and
Let me see.
incidents.
I think it is Fernando.
Standings. Ocon P8, Alonso P9, 64 and 51 points respectively.
Okay. I mean, it's not like he's getting. And then what's Norris to Ricardo then?
Norris is P7 with 76 points. Ricardo's P13 with 19.
See, that's a much bigger difference.
Big gap.
Ocon to Alonso's not a big gap, so it's kind of like, all right, a little luck there, a little not so luck there. That kind of evens out, but you know, to Norris to Ricardo is a big gap, so like it makes sense to go with that. But I think Gasly will get Alpine seat, and it's just funny that Alpine they've lost their present driver, like the now driver, or I guess former driver of a champion, and they've also lost their future driver, Piastri, and literally a few months. Like, I don't know, do you want to go to that team now that happened? Like, is that a sign that, like, oh...
That is a red flag. Speaking of stewarding. Like, I've seen the name Alpine thrown around for the L's they've taken this offseason, or the summer break. Like,
that was L plan.
It does seem dysfunctional. And, like, Gasly and Ocon having a public feud, I guess that makes for good entertainment from an outsider standpoint. I wonder how they reconcile those differences in-house in the garage. Personally, I've never been a big Ocon guy. I don't know what it is. This isn't really an original take. Like, it's weird that Ocon's one of the poorest background drivers on the grid and still isn't likable. Like, the guy's just not charismatic.
It's because all the stories you hear about him from Fernando and from his former teammates in the garage, in the paddock, in the team factory is that he's just a dick to everybody. That's literally all I've heard.
I don't think I've even heard that many of them. He just guy's kind of a rat. Like I don't know. I don't like
Snitch.
maybe he's nice. It doesn't sound like he is. I don't know. Just hasn't been very likable, in my opinion, which doesn't have to matter on the track in a racing sport in motorsports. There's a lot of people that don't like Max's character, and I, for one, am a fan. So
I feel
that's
like
not all that matters.
also, you know who I could add to that is Lando. I think on the out on like just looking at the regular every day to day in F1, I feel like Lando's a very likable, joking person. But then when you ask him like certain questions, he's kind of ruthless. Have you seen like some reporters asking him about Daniel Ricciardo, and he's show like, no, I don't care. Like I don't have any sympathy for him. Like if you look at it like statistics, he's not, like he's very like cutthroat in competition, which I think every driver is like, but he like is not afraid to say it, which I think is just more of a competition aspect than a personality,
Hmm.
which I think, but it's
I haven't seen those comments either.
no.
That would be
Have you Camden, D'Angelo, have you seen those?
See
Well,
what?
Like,
I've heard some
yeah.
stories just of like some fans who have met Nando, and
Oh,
they
okay.
they say like he's a little awkward. Like there's times where I forget, it was some influencer or some person, but like they went up to meet him and he kind of just froze. So I don't know if like I'm not saying he has like a personality issue, but Nando could just be kind of like a wild card. You just don't know what to expect
Interesting.
with him at times.
Yeah, and well, I mean, you guys could look up on YouTube, like there's some situations of certain questions reporters ask him, and as far as more, I feel like it's more of a competition standpoint question, and he's not afraid to say like, no, I don't care about my team. I don't like, I shouldn't feel sympathy for him. I shouldn't, and it's just kind of like, it is what it is type of thing. But I
That
don't know.
doesn't totally shock me. Like
No, I feel like every
I
driver
like
is like
Lando.
that. Every
Like I
driver's
said, I
like
think
that.
he's talented. I think he seems cool enough from the like interviews and whatever I've seen. But like, no offense to you guys, he is like the stereotypical Gen Z driver on the track too.
Mm-hmm.
I could see him being this big Twitch streamer, and then like someone walks up to him, he doesn't want to talk back. I don't know. Kind of fits.
Interesting. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see. I think we'll see. I don't think we'll see a driver market for a little while. I think if anything, you might see the Williams or the Williams seat be confirmed if they're gonna maybe go Latifi or with someone else. But I think the Haas or Alpine and even AlphaTauri seat is gonna wait a little bit longer for anything to be announced. But once one of those three teams gets announced, I think another one will kind of domino effect right after. But in all honesty, I don't think anyone is wanting to jump into that Williams seat. I think if anything, it'll be that one might be announced first, but I don't think that'll be like a domino effect announcement there because
Do you
they're
think-
kind of at the back.
Do you think AlphaTauri will dig into the Red Bull Academy and call up a driver, or look elsewhere?
Well, yeah, I mean that'd be interesting what they would do, but it seems like from what I've listened to and read that Helmut Marko wants it won't block Gasly because he's contracted in for next year for AlphaTauri, but he won't block him from wanting to go to Alpine, which kind of tells me that they don't really believe in Gasly and they don't really, even though he was in Red Bull, that they're not going to give him another shot, which historically they've never really given their driver a second opportunity once they've gotten to the Red Bull team and got demoted. They never get promoted again. So Gasly knows that. He's got to get out of that team. Like Max is hooked up for Red Bull for how many more years?
Yeah, there's like a clause in his contract, I think, that he can leave to go to a team higher in the standings, which would be in the case with Alpine. I've heard people say Red Bull's too proud to bring a driver back, as if to admit they made a mistake sending him back down. Maybe there's some to that. I don't know. But also,
Interesting.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Would Gasly fit the number 2 behind Max well? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe they'd rather look elsewhere and maybe find that silly to say almost, but like the next Max or more of a second seat Checo style driver.
Yeah, I mean, I don't follow too much of the F2 and F3, the younger drivers coming up, but so it seemed like they've used a lot of their drivers with Albon and Gasly, and now Tsunoda's up here as well. I feel like they've given up on obviously Albon and Gasly, I think, as well.
Is
The only
Tsunoda
other
under
driver is
contract?
Tsunoda. No, Tsunoda's an AlphaTauri, I think.
Yeah, Sonoda's AlphaTauri.
But like, is he under contract through next year?
Yes.
Okay.
What do we think
I
about
read some-
Tsunoda? Are we sold on him?
He had like P3 at some point in quali today. I'm not sure if I'm sold on him. I don't think bringing him back is a mistake either. I know he has like there's some connections between him and Honda's maybe on their way out.
Well, that's interesting because they're kind of like, they're
They're
technically
there.
left,
They're there, but they're not there.
but I think they're coming back now with this new engine, 2026 regulation that's bringing Audi and most likely Porsche into the sport. I think Honda will formally come in again because of that
As their own
change. No, I mean back.
team with Red Bull.
Depends if Porsche comes into the conversation into that one. That's a whole topic for
That is
another
a whole
day.
nother topic. At one
But
point, there was reports that made it sound like Porsche's joining Red Bull in 2026. Then I saw rumors that that's falling through. Who's to say?
yeah, but I think it could be their exit strategy. It could be Red Bull's exit strategy. But I think the regulations are good. The more you want a lot of manufacturers in there, but in competition. But as far as Tsunoda, yeah, easy. For them to keep him, and it's not like that's the one thing I don't like about Formula One is you can have a team that could be like a secondary team, and every driver is on the grid to win, and every team is kind of trying to win. But then when you have a team like AlphaTauri, like that team is never going to outrun Red Bull, so it doesn't matter where they finish. They have enough money and everything funded. So Tsunoda, keep them in there. It's not like they're competing for anything. It's just kind of like a team that like a placeholder team, which I don't like the idea of.
What
I
happens
feel like
with
every
Mick?
team should be there.
Mick, always going to be relevant with his name. Last report I remember reading sounded like he probably is no longer continuing his relation with Ferrari, which might mean the end of his time at Haas. But if he's not at Haas, what does he do? Could he find himself at that Williams seat? I haven't heard that.
Well, the one that was linked more was with Alpine. For him to go to Alpine, obviously Ocon wants him to be there, but that's not really his choice.
Why is that obvious, friends?
I think it was made public that he was asked that, and he picked
Ocon
Schumacher.
just doesn't want Gasly there. That's what.
Yeah, probably. But it doesn't make sense for Haas to take Schumacher out, and then let's say because they were interested possibly in Ricciardo. Ricciardo's more costly than Schumacher, and Kevin Magnussen stepping in for Mazepin, obviously for this season that whole thing happened, is a lot more money than Mazepin. So, what was the reason why they got rid of Grosjean and Magnussen in the first place? Money. And now, 1 year later, they bring back Magnussen, and now you want to sign Daniel Ricciardo and get rid of like a Mick Schumacher who's had 2 seasons, one with a very uncompetitive car and one where you've seen glimpses of success. I mean, he made it to Q3, P8 for tomorrow's Grand Prix, or the time we're recording this, tomorrow's Grand Prix. You never know what he could do in the Dutch Grand Prix, and moving forward, it's his second season in F1, and I would say it's really his first season, because the car of Haas last year was just really, really bad. But now you get rid of the young talent. Now you're going to be spending more money on, Daniel Ricciardo at Haas. It doesn't really make sense, the switch. But maybe if their performance is better, they'll get more sponsorship, because they are more in the conversation. So maybe it's just on a positive slope. But it just doesn't make sense 1 year say, oh, we have to get rid of you guys because of money. And then like 2 years later, you sign Daniel Ricciardo and now you keep Magnussen? I don't know.
So I googled Haas and hit the news tab just to see like what's the zeitgeist this day. The top 3 results are as follows. Haas teammates, Magnussen doubts Ricciardo's abilities. Magnussen unsure Ricciardo would make Haas better. Magnussen questions Ricciardo-Haas impact. So it doesn't sound like Magnussen wants Ricciardo at Haas. And the following articles mention these 4 candidates of Schumacher, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Giovinazzi, all of which I think you mentioned. So you made a good case why Ricciardo doesn't make sense. Retaining Schumacher seems like an easy choice. Maybe there's some tension there we don't know about with him maybe leaving Ferrari. I don't know.
He brings in a lot of American sponsors too. I think he has Under Armour, I believe.
Okay.
I think not as many. I mean, you have Schumacher in the team. I think that should bring something, especially if your car is going to be more competitive. He's more of an Americanized, I would think, a little bit more, where he has that extra sponsorship. Hopefully they would gain more for them to keep developing and stuff. So I think they'll announce that Schumacher with Haas.
You think he's coming back?
I think so. I don't think Ricciardo's going to Haas.
No.
And I don't think Hülkenberg and Magnussen doesn't make sense.
Suck my balls, honey.
Yeah. Literally.
I think it's between Schumacher and Giovinazzi, probably. Giovinazzi had his Ferrari connections previously. I think he's in Formula E, which I don't follow. Maybe he's doing well. So I think it's down to those 2 and not Ricciardo and Hülkenberg at Haas. Although, wouldn't it be great if Haas called up an American driver? Like, there hasn't been an American driver since I started watching. And the way Drive to Survive and everything has grown the sport in the country, it would be so much fun to see everyone, or many people, rally around an American driver, wouldn't it?
That would be huge, especially where you're going to have 3 American races next year. Like, this could be the perfect time for them to bring up an American guy.
You can have 3 home races just like Max. Belgium,
Belgium, Spa,
Austria.
Belgium, Zandvoort, Austria.
Yeah. Which makes sense. He is, like, I think he's a dual citizen. Born in Belgium, is a Dutch driver. Austria is Red Bull's home. So, like, I mean, that makes sense. I saw TikTok calling that a red flag for having 3 home races, but
just get good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Home field advantage in F1 doesn't really do anything. I don't think.
No, not much. But like, who's in the pipeline America-wise? There's that Sargent guy. I think he's in F2.
Yeah, Logan Sargent.
Is Herta the Indy guy? Is he American?
Yeah, Herta is like the one that is more, I guess, favored to come, I feel like, at least. But I don't think his super license allows him to be in F1 yet. I think a few things have to fall in place for that to happen. I believe. I'm not 100% certain. But you also had, I believe, Alexander Rossi, who's American, was the last American driver, possibly. Although, honestly...
He was a reserve.
Yeah, but didn't he race in Manor with Mary and Rossi? Wasn't it in Manor in 2015?
I could have sworn he did some races.
He was definitely. Google it up. I swore he did a full season in the Manor.
Regarding Herta, one of those articles that I looked up mentioned that Gunther Steiner and Frederick Vasseur of Alfa Romeo both stated they don't think the FIA should grant a super license exception to IndyCar racer Colton Herta.
Yeah. I don't think he's able to. I don't think there's any American driver that can come in right now because of the super license. Because Colton Herta's name has been the one that's been rumored a lot, and he doesn't even have it. So if there would be someone else who does have the super license to join, I feel like their name would have been up a little bit more, but it hasn't. Although the only other driver that he's Brazilian, but he races under the American flag, and honestly was the last technical kind of. I don't know if he raced on the American flag. Was Fittipaldi? I forget the first name. He did one. Emerson.
That's one of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the. I know the grandfather. I think is the champion or whatever. From years.
I don't know my
ago.
history well enough. Maybe that is the grandfather.
Yeah, that's Emerson. Maybe it is Emerson, but an Emerson these days would be unlikely. But he raced in, I think, one of the COVID years. He subbed in at Abu Dhabi, I think.
Oh no, I think it was Bahrain for Williams.
Yeah, something like that.
No, wasn't it Abu Dhabi in 2020?
Pietro Fittipaldi.
Yeah, Pietro.
Gotcha.
He races.
Now I think
for
he's
Brazil.
Brazilian, but what does he run? What does he use the flag?
It says Brazilian American racing driver, nationality Brazilian. I don't know if that's just Wikipedia. I'm not sure that's conclusive.
So he I guess he doesn't really count then. He's kind of like a.
He raced.
But when you listen to an interview of him,
sorry to interrupt.
He's an American guy.
We're both right because he did the Sakir Grand Prix in Bahrain, finished P17, and then Abu Dhabi P19. That was 2020 at Haas, in Grosjean's seat.
Right. Yeah.
He had an incident with a wall.
Interesting. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if any of them one day. I think you'll see one shortly in the next next 4 to 6 years. I think you'll see some American driver happen with all the teams stuff that might be happening.
They grew up watching Drive to Survive since they were a toddler.
Yeah. But,
Although
yeah.
an interesting point I want to add, that the same article that said that Haas and Alfa Romeo said they wouldn't grant a super license to Herta, AlphaTauri has not ruled it out, and he could be a potential target if Gasly does leave for Alpine.
Yeah, because I think every team has to sign off on them accepting it. That's the issue.
How that'd be an issue.
And that's also an issue why Andretti Motorsports aren't in the sport yet as a 11th entry. It's because all the teams haven't signed off on that. They don't want an 11th team because that means they're losing money.
That's a smaller slice of the pie for them, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of a problem because F1 should be able to say, you know, hey, we have 12 seats available. And we're going to fill all 12 seats. You have no say. Now, if it was, I can understand. Now, if you wanted a 13th team, now all of you guys have to sign off as well as F1. But in the rule book, it gives you a maximum of 12 teams F1 can have. So why does every team have to approve it when it's in the rule book that it says 12 can exist?
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think that's hurting F1 as a sport. But I think with this technical engine thing for 2026, that it will be a good for more teams as you see Audi joining. And I think we have many years away still, but it takes time now for things to come up. But we'll see it.
Audi's expected to take over Sauber Alfa Romeo, right?
Yeah.
That's the plan. Interesting.
You can't get excited too early because a lot can change still.
A lot can change. I also like, maybe this is just me, but I wonder what's the involvement, because like it seems like Alfa Romeo is a white label product for Sauber. They just put their name on it, and I haven't heard of them They don't make their own engines. I don't know how much money they put into it beyond just sponsorship. Sounds like
Alfa Romeo?
Porsche. Yeah, it sounds like Porsche might be trying to be more involved as a team than Alfa Romeo is currently on the basis of Sauber.
Yeah, well, for Alfa Romeo's just a title sponsor, so they're not doing anything more than pretty much just funding the team and making sure that it says Alfa Romeo other than Sauber. Because Sauber, kind of hurting financially at the time. So they didn't have plans to fully go in as an engine manufacturer, whereas Audi, not Porsche, Audi's going into Alfa Romeo as their own engine. And they said that if Porsche joins, most likely they'd have their own engine as based geography of where the factories are located. It wouldn't be logistically the best for both teams to have a separate engine. So if Porsche does come in, they probably have their own. So they'd have a full commitment, and it's pretty much a manufactured team, which brings in a little bit more of competition. Because if you can have a team turn from a title sponsor to now a manufactured team with their own engine, now that is going to hopefully lead to a better midfield to top field team. So I'm happy that it's changing like that, because in my opinion, that's how F1 should be. You want every manufacturer, it's the pinnacle of motorsport, and you want the best drivers and the best teams and manufacturers competing all to win. And when you have teams that are like, oh yeah, we're Alfa Romeo, but like, oh, we're just Sauber, and we're under Ferrari engines, it's kind of lame in my opinion. Well, for the Dutch Grand Prix now, unfortunately, we are unable to record this after the race, so this will be a little preview. Quali was interesting. Times are obviously going to be close because it's a short lap time.
I saw
Max
some graphics
aiming
saying,
pole.
sorry, but I saw some graphics saying that the difference between Max and Leclerc was the closest of either this season or in quite some time.
It was 21 hundredths of a second. 0.021.
Wow. Which is, the difference is 1.85 meters.
Solid.
It's the closest margin between pole position and P2 in 2022.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen closer. I don't think that's a record or anything.
Bro, there have been 7 drivers that tied in a race in like the 60s for pole. Or
Yeah,
fastest lap.
They said that's the closest margin in 2022, and the Formula One Twitter account mentioned that is the size of one George Russell between them.
Prediction time.
I mean, he's back in 6th though. Yeah, I mean it's going to be a good one. I think Max will control it off the start, but it's going to be hard to pass these cars first time here. We'll see how they can do passing, but
they're
I still see Max winning it, claiming it from pole position, and I think we're going to see one of each manufactured on the podium. I think you'll see Max, then I think you'll see Sainz, and then I think you'll see Hamilton in P3.
Explain the strategy that led to Leclerc not being on that podium.
It's Leclerc and Ferrari. That's all you need.
Pretty much. I mean, I'm looking forward to it because the gaps are closer. So we'll see kind of how the racing will be. But based on the track layout, it's not going to be the best. But we'll see. It's going to be more strategy. But starting from pole, I think Max will be good, and Leclerc, I don't know. I think you're going to see one of each on the podium. I think it's really close between them. Now, who is it going to be? I don't know. I just put predictions out. I'm wrong all the time, so I don't really take it so seriously.
Did Max have a Grand Slam, or
he had a Grand Slam there last year?
Yeah. as long as the Red Bull can hold up, I don't see why that isn't possible this year. Leclerc is due for a break. Maybe he can finish P2 for once again. I guess Sainz or Mercedes P3, unless something happens. I don't know. Lewis might turn in on someone, so let's give it to George P3.
Hey. You know the meme, the floor is lava? Well,
Yeah.
for Ferrari, the lava is the podium.
That's fair.
The podium is lava.
So do you have any of them on the podium?
Well, so here's what I'm going to say. I'm just going to put this out there. I'm going to go bold, okay?
Oh, I like this. I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
I just think something's going to happen with Max.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk this week about, is Max going to win, you know? And I don't know. I just don't think he's going to win. And as a matter of fact, this may not happen. You know, the Max part might happen, but this might be Lewis's race.
Ooh.
I think Lewis might get that win and keep that streak alive of winning a race in every season. So I've got Lewis P1, I've got Sainz P2, and then I think Perez will round out the podium.
I got Max, Carlos, and then George.
Max, Carlos, and George. Okay, so just swapping the Mercedes for Russell. I had Hamilton. I think there might be some contact at turn 1. I don't know between who, but I think we're getting closer to the end of the championship, and I think I talked on it last episode. Max is now the one he's got that big gap, but now everyone else, they have nothing to lose. They have to go for it. Max has a lot to lose, so he's got to kind of keep it cautious, but I think his natural instinct is to just go for it all the time. And I think he could lose some points this week, but you know, we'll see how it goes tomorrow. But I think this was a fun one. I enjoyed this one. Thanks to Jibar, our guest today. Unfortunately, unable to get Professional in here, but we'll get him in at some point. But thanks for stepping in. And then also our true guest of Camden-luca. Also, thanks for tuning in here and the racing debrief.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. I'm glad you guys had me on.
Awesome. And for those listening, thank you all for tuning in. Remember to follow TCR on all the social medias, and definitely tune in to this week's Azerbaijan Grand Prix for TCR, round number 4. And you can join the TCR Discord server, where we are the most active. And until next week, thanks for listening.